Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. I decided to split the video. Now we're going to speak about the front lines in Ukraine and also in Russia. As you can see here in Kursk, we have some of the good news there by the way, and later on I'm going to film the separate video telling you about the other news around Ukraine and not only. The good news about Kursk that Ukraine propelled towards Lgov city. Yes, we don't have the recent update from the deep state military map source, but we have the data directly from the soldiers who are fighting in the area. They confirmed that Ukraine was capable to get a couple of more villages under control at the same time that Russia strikes Ukraine from the western side, but as we know, this attack is standstill for many days, so Ukraine was able to stop this Russian assault. So our guys continue to move using this road towards Lgov. Lgov is over here. This town is not far away from the Kursk nuclear power plant. I guess that Russians stop with their assault vector because they don't know the next move of Ukrainian army, whether Ukraine will send reinforcements here or there's the attack from this side, so Russians are splitting their assault vector and now they're changing the strategy for defense. They require way more forces for the successful offensive operation in the Kursk region. Some of the channels spread the information that Ukraine tries to change the forces in Kursk. There was the information that 82nd Ukrainian Brigade left this area for rotation. Well, maybe Ukrainian army requires the assault forces very capable units in other directions, for example in Pokrovsk. Also the good news that Ukraine continued to kaboom the Russian pontoon bridges in the Kursk region, disturbing the Russian supplies. Maybe that is why Russia also mainly on a standstill with their counteroffensive attempt. Not just the pontoon bridges are hit, but also some of the Russian supplies in the hangars or some of the vehicles with the help of the FPV drones. Well, the full videos, guys, I published on my Telegram channel. You may find it in the video description just below because there is kind of the low censorship compared to YouTube, so I may share those kind of the videos. Here it's impossible. It seems like Russia wants to disturb the Ukrainian logistics in the Sumy Oblast because that is used to supply Ukrainian forces towards Kursk. Sumy is the bordering oblast with the Russian Federation, and here Russia tried to demolish the local bridge using the aviation bomb. It is a FAB 500, not the largest one Russia has and uses against the Ukrainian forces, but here luckily it didn't detonate and went very close to the bridge. But the most critical point for Ukraine right now is the Vuhledar town. As you can see, the gray part of the town is already in the gray area. It means that Russians entered the town with their assault forces, and it was yesterday, it is today. There is also the great risk for Ukraine that Russians might encircle Vuhledar because there are just a few of the roads left for the supplies. And also for the evacuation of the Ukrainian armed forces. This is the dirt road, it's not always sturdy. And here's the data from AMK mapping. I will share their source in the video description just below. So this is the Vuhledar city. It's not really big, but there are many of the several-story buildings. I'm gonna move my picture lower for you to see everything. So Russians captured this side, or the fight is ongoing out there. We may not state for now for this hour that definitely Russians established control over that part of the settlement. But what we know that Russians are trying to encircle the town and they're very close to achieve their goal. For now, the idea for Ukraine is just to leave the place in the coming days or even hours. Because it's now 100% that the Russians will occupy the city, the question is with the Ukrainian army trapped inside or without. And this is the image from above. Russians enter the town. So in the future they'll take building by building. Mostly they assault with infantry forces, and from the information we have, Wagner group is again fighting in Ukraine. I mean the soldiers from the Wagner army were found in many of the spots of the front lines, and they have the experience from Bakhmut how to fight in the urban environment. And this is the current situation. So Russians advance towards this side and they claim to take this territory under control. I mean this magenta purple area. And also they advance from this side, so Ukraine should, I think, remove the forces from Vuhledar in the coming day, or maybe maximum 2 of the days, because this road is must have to withdraw the forces. The experts from the deep state military map source also confirmed that Ukraine has no chances to cut those Russian clouds in Vuhledar. That would require lots and lots of the reinforcements which Ukrainian army doesn't have in this region. By the way, if you go to Vuhledar, you may see the other Russian advancement near Vuhledar. Vuhledar is almost fully occupied by the Russian forces, I would say fully occupied, and today Russians fully occupy those mines. So potentially Russians may go to Boeing and they may cut this road for Ukrainian evacuation from Vuhledar. Guys, this Russian south is even the greatest threat for the Ukrainian group in Vuhledar from what I may see. There was the information spread by the Russian channel saying that Ukraine has already left Vuhledar and the Russian army established the control over the settlement, even though I think that it's imminent, but for now Ukrainian army is still there, and there is the video published today by one of Ukrainian soldiers definitely confirming that the Ukrainian army is still controlling Vuhledar. If we go to the west from Vuhledar, here Russians also went on the south from Staromayorsk. Staromayorsk was taken before by Ukraine during the counteroffensive operation in 2023, but Russians now take the ground. The Ukrainian counteroffensive last year wasn't really successful as we all thought. All experts say that Ukraine has the only chance to break through the Russian defense, but it didn't happen. Ukraine broke actually through a couple of the defense lines, but it wasn't enough to push Russians out and reach Tokmak together with Melitopol. And this year Russia was able to reorganize, they invest lots of the funds into their army, they hire more of the army men, they produce more of the equipment, they also took some of the shells from North Korea and Iran. And for 2024, we see that they are more prepared compared to Ukrainian side. At the same time, the last winter was critical for Ukraine to reorganize supplies. Well, Ukraine obtained some of the very interesting munition, for example, ATACMS missiles, but it is not enough for Ukraine to withstand against many of the Russian attacks. And now let's go to the Pokrovsk direction, where Russia again moved for the last 24 hours. They advanced towards this area, direction Pokrovsk and Mirnograd. They took the part of the Kruty Yar under their control. So today, yes, definitely they are in this village. Nevertheless, for the last few days, we see that Russia is mostly standstill in this northwest direction, but maybe they're just accumulating the forces for the major strike towards Mirnograd or towards Pokrovsk. Again, if we go to the AMK mapping, you may see the vectors of the possible Russian attack. Plus, you may see Ukrainian defense lines, and Russia goes between those. I would say that 100% Ukrainian defense wasn't organized properly in Pokrovsk direction. I mean, there was no investment in the very robust defense lines as Russia did, for example, in the south. Then Russia occupied Avdiivka. It was understandable that the next goal for the Russian army will be Pokrovsk. Well, in this direction, Russia used the infantry vehicles, MTLBs, and all of those were stopped by Ukrainian drones. Because Pokrovsk itself plays the strategic role in all of the supplements in the Donetsk Oblast. It's a major supply crossroad, and by losing Pokrovsk, Ukraine would lose definitely a lot, even more than in Avdiivka. And the next year, Russia would be free to go to Pavlograd, so Dnipro city, or to Kramatorsk, Slovyansk. Also, there are unique coal mines in Pokrovsk, so Ukraine might lose its steel production. Because to produce the steel, you need to have the unique type of the coal, so to keep producing steel, Ukraine will have to order the coal from the other countries, for example, South Africa. And that would load the Ukrainian budget even more. What about the Kupiansk direction? Well, Russia tries to advance towards the Oskil River, but today they were repelled by Ukrainian drone strikes. We have this video published by the 3rd Assault Brigade and how they demolished the Russian equipment. There were several of the attack waves from the Russian side, but all of those were stopped. From what I can see, Russians continue to use their hangar tanks. Yes, they have the drone protection, but sometimes it doesn't work for Russia. They also use the electronic warfare, the anti-drone systems, but they also do not help usually. This video I found in the Russian publics, definitely I may confirm that it is the Zaporizhia city. I know it myself, and here you can see the Iskander missiles hitting the Zaporizhia Motor Siege factory, the factory which produces the aviation engines for Ukrainian aircraft, and also they produce some of the drones, so Russia tries to hit that very critical facility for Ukraine. Unfortunately, Russia has those long-range Iskander missiles. Hopefully, Ukraine will also get the permission to use their own weaponry on the territory of the Russian Federation. By the way, we have some of the good news about it, but wait for my next video. I can explain more about that topic. Here I speak mostly about the events on the ground. And by the way, my friends, if you want to support my channel, you may do it by following me on Patreon. I'll put the link for my Patreon page right in the video description below. Thank you so much for maintaining my motivation. So Russia hit 2 of the spots of the Motor Siege factory. They may launch their missiles from the occupied territories of Ukraine, including Crimea. So it's very important for Ukraine to cut the supply road, the main road for Russia towards Crimea. It's the Kursk bridge actually. The video you saw was filmed on this kind of the drone. It's the Russian Zala drone with a range up to 150 kilometers, so it may fly deeply into Ukrainian territory. Here you see that Russians painted the drone with the Ukrainian colors and they put those kind of the crosses. And here Russians even paint the Zala drone with the Ukrainian colors and they even put this kind of the cross. So they want to fool Ukrainian drone operators, but our operators are very smart. They're able to identify the enemy surveillance drone like Zala, so Ukrainian army doesn't have those kind of the drones, I mean those kind of the types. And the drone was hit by the Ukrainian FPV. For now, it's the only solution, only robust solution for Ukraine to get rid of the Russian surveillance, but sometimes it doesn't work, as you saw on the previous video, that Russia struck the Motor Siege factory in Zaporizhia. But Ukraine also can be successful with the same tactics, so Ukraine also has the drones providing surveillance data to Ukrainian artillery or the other drone units to precisely fire towards the Russian command center in this case, so before the Russian forces were tracked and then kaboomed in this village. By the way, it is also Zaporizhia, but the occupied territory of it. By the way, about the Russian drones, this Geran 2 drone was shot down by Ukrainian defense. Geran 2 is basically a modified version of Shahed 136, and look at this wreckage. More closer look and more closer look. Here you may see it's Starlink. We even have some sort of the numbers. With this resolution it's hard to tell, but I think experts might tell what is there. It basically means that Russia uses Starlink technologies on their Geran, so Shahed drones, to hit Ukrainian infrastructure. By using the constant internet connection, they may control the flight parameters of the drones and correct them during the flight. Before, Russians just programmed the drones for one-way flight with coordinates, but here they may divert, they may change their targets based on the data coming from the other Shahed drones which were shot down, for example, by Ukrainian air defense. With this kind of the technology, they may bypass the Ukrainian air defense. Well, here it didn't happen, luckily, but potentially it increases the capabilities of the Russian Shahed drones dramatically. So again, we see how the Russian army profits from the Starlink company. I'm not saying that the company is bad, but it should establish some sort of the mechanisms to control their products, which sometimes go to the wrong side. And Russia uses lots of the drones plus missiles daily attacking Ukrainian infrastructure. It's been reported that the aim for the recent Russian attack was the Star-Konstantinov airport located in the western side of Ukraine, which is, I guess, the base for the Ukrainian F-16s. Russians even reported that they successfully struck 4 of the Ukrainian F-16s, but I think that it's not true. Russians also use the Kinzhal hypersonic missiles for their attacks, and definitely it's hard to intercept those. Unfortunately, many of the Ukrainian cities suffered the missile strikes or the drone strikes. And this is the video published by the Russian side of how they used the mother drone to launch FPV drones further away from the front lines, behind the front lines, to hit some of the Ukrainian units like tanks or artillery systems. In this case, the mother drone retransfers the signal from the control center, or basically to say the controller of the FPV drone. In its turn, it increases the range of the drone dramatically by several of the times. It could be like that. In Pokrovsk direction, Russia tried to send some of the reinforcements and supplies. Well, that was found by Ukrainian surveillance drone. It happened during the night time. As you can see, we have the thermal camera. And all of that later on was kaboomed by the Ukrainian artillery, or it's better to say artillery systems HIMARS. For this strike, Ukraine also used the cluster munition. So if you speak about the Russian assaults in Pokrovsk direction or elsewhere, well, those are going with tremendous losses for the Russian side. That's why I think that it's almost imminent that Putin will announce a new mobilization in Russia. Also, the beautiful strike on the Russian Mosta-S artillery system, it happened on the south, and Ukrainian drones were very effective. Mosta-S continued its movement, but later on was caught by fire and completely disabled. But sometimes those bastards are damn lucky. This is the Russian K-52 helicopter, attack helicopter, which they use massively. You may see that it fires some of the missiles, and just look at what will happen right now. So helicopter flies and it turns, and it was barely hit by the man-pad missile. It was damn lucky. Immediately it goes down and down, launching those flares. Yes, those were lucky. It seems like they have the system that indicates that there is incoming missile. Here you can see that the composite material of the helicopter was definitely scratched. Guys, please stand by for one more video today where we're gonna speak about nuclear threats from the Russian side. Those are very serious. For now, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. And as usual, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.